Hello friends, I'm Narendra Verma once again with you. As you know very well that we are dealing with the third chapter in business studies for class 12 CBSE syllabus, and the chapter name is business environment. In today's session we are going to cover importance of business environment. This importance can also be termed as benefits of business environment or advantages or merits of business environment, right? So let's have discussion about it without wasting much time. So, importance of business environment. As I already explained you in the beginning when we were dealing with the chapter 1, if you want to really realize the importance of something, then imagine the environment, imagine the situation in the absence of that particular concept, right? So if you imagine the business organization or the functioning of the business organization in the absence of the knowledge of the business environment, then you will come to know that how important the business environment is, right? As we have already discussed the meaning and definition of business environment, that the business organization has to function in the environment in which all the kind of factors which directly or indirectly influence the particular business, okay, in general or in specific manner, are available, right? So as these factors are influencing continuously a business organization, so it becomes very much important for a business organization to keep an eye on these factors, to have knowledge about these, to have information about these, so that they can prepare themselves to handle any kind of problem is coming. Okay, because when you have the information of your surrounding, that what is happening around you, then you can take the better decisions, right? Okay, say for example that one person has to go to his office, okay, and if he doesn't see the situation of weather, he moves out on his two-wheeler without taking the raincoat, and what happens, it rains and he gets soaked, right? So what better situation could have been done if he had seen the situation of weather, and as per the situation he would have anticipated that it may rain, so I should carry the raincoat, or I should wear the raincoat already, so that if it rains I may not get soaked and I can reach office without getting soaked. So the same happens in business organization. Certain factors have been working, okay. So if you are the owner of the organization, or you are running the organization, or you are a manager, then it becomes your responsibility to have information of all these certain factors which directly or indirectly affect the performance of your business, right? So that is why the business environment becomes important, okay, and we are therefore discussing the importance of business environment there, and these points of importance somewhere work as the benefits for the business as well, okay. These also become the benefits of business environment for an enterprise. All right, so let's have discussion about it. So these all are the points of importance of business environment. Let's read them. It helps in coping with rapid changes, it helps in improving performance, it helps in assisting in planning and policy formulation, it enables the firm to identify opportunities and getting first mover advantage, it helps the firm to identify threats and early warning signals, it helps in tapping useful resources. Okay, so these are the 6 points of importance of business environment, and these points are very much lengthy to remember. That's why, to keep these all there in the mind all the time, I have made a code for that. You know very well that every time I prepare a code, and the code is unique one, so this time the code is once again a unique one. I just write it down. So the code is cat is playing on the tree. You'll have to imagine that there is a cat sitting on the tree and it is playing sitting on that, right? Okay, so now let's understand that what does this code stand for. See, because I have picked the important words from these points. For example, that is coping. Okay, if you remember the coping, then by remembering the coping you will remember the entire point. Okay, so this C stands for coping here. Okay, and this I stands for improving here, and this P stands for planning here, and this O stands for opportunities here, and this T stands for threats here, and this T again stands for tapping, right? So if you remember these words, then by remembering these words you will remember the whole point in your mind. Okay, so that's why I made that code. Fine. So let's have discussion about these points one by one. Detailed discussion with the example is very much necessary to have understanding on that. Okay, so let's have discussion on that. So it helps in coping with rapid changes. Okay, so let's understand the meaning of cope here. Cope means just to move together, or we can say to manage the things in better way. Okay, to handle the things, right? Now let's have the meaning here. It helps, it means business environment. Business environment helps in coping with rapid changes. Okay, as we have already discussed the features of business environment, and the one feature of business environment was dynamic nature. All right, means the business environment keeps on changing. So the changes in the business environment are taking place at very fast pace, right? Okay, so if an organization wants to remain functioning successfully, or if it wants to keep performing better and better, then for that it has to cope with the rapid changes happening in the environment. Okay, so a business organization has to have information about the changes happening in the environment, so that according to that it can also make changes in its policies, in its system. Okay, so that they can make themselves capable, so that they can move with the environment, right? And for that there are various examples. Okay, if you really want to understand it, then study about the old companies which have been functioning in the environment for more than 20 or 25 years. Okay, not going further, let's talk about the Indian companies only. Okay, you can take the example of Dabur, you can take the example of Parle-G. There are numerous companies. Okay, if you see that they have kept on changing their system, their products, okay, and their way of production, their way of marketing as per the requirement of the environment, because environment needs changes. Okay, for proving it in a better way, I would like to give one example so that you can understand in better way. Let's take the example of Titan watches. Okay, so we know very well that Titan watches are available in Titan outlets. Okay, if I or you or anybody else is willing to buy the watches, then we all have to visit the outlet and then we can buy that. Okay, but a few years back what happened, there was the technological revolution, right? Then all the businesses came online, right? So in the same run, Titan also has to come on online. Now they have started selling their, this is not now but since then the businesses came on online, then Titan that also did the same. It maintained its websites, and on the website now they have started selling their watches, and they know very well that this is not only the way to reach the customer online. There are certain ways, there are few mediators like Amazon, Flipkart, Paytm, okay, and various others. So they have made their watches available there as well, so that the customer who is willing to buy the watches can reach them through any platform. Okay, so Titan has made that kind of change as per the need of the environment, as per the rapid changes taking places in the environment. If it had not made that change, if it had not made itself available online as well, if it had not started selling its watches online, then what would have happened? Its sales would have decreased. Okay, because other competitors are there in the market, they could have sold their watches there on online. Okay, so that is why, just to remain in the market, just to be ahead in the market, just to keep functioning well, just to keep getting success in your field, you will have to cope with the rapid changes. Understood? Now let's move on to another point of importance. Next point is it helps in improving performance of business enterprise, not the employees I'm talking about here. Okay, so business environment helps in improving performance of a business. How? See, as we know that rapid changes are taking places. Okay, so many things are happening, new technologies are coming, new methods of productions are taking places. Okay, and there are new methods for marketing, and every day new competitors are taking birth. Okay, so in that way, if a business organization keeps the information of all means they know that who has come in the market as a competitor for them. Okay, they have to do the proper analysis for that, because if they know the plus point of their competitors, then they can make changes in their system and they can compete with him. But if they do not have the information about their competitors, then how they are going to defeat them? It is very much impossible kind of situation. So that is why the competitors have to have information about each other, and this is the part of what? Business environment. Okay, and the business organization has to have information about its creditor, government rules and regulations. Okay, and other factors like social factors, customer preferences and all. So if they have information about all these factors, then what happens? Okay, they are prepared for that, and when they are prepared to handle something in better way, their performance keeps on improving. Okay, improvements come only when you are ready to face the challenges, and every day the challenges are generating. Okay, anytime after few days you see a different kind of challenge is originated in front of the business organization. So when they have information already about these all, then they are prepared to handle it or fight them, right? Okay, so that what happens, their performance keeps on improving and improving. Okay, their decline phase does not come so soon, right? So that is why it becomes important for the organization to have information about the business environment, so that they can keep improving their performance. Okay, let's take one example for that. Okay, you know very well that a few years back Jio was launched, and when Jio was launched, then all the telecommunication company were on the phase of decline, right? It was a kind of revolution in the field of telecom sector when Jio was launched. Okay, only a few competitors of Jio could survive. Okay, and the biggest competitor for Jio was Airtel, and still it is there. Okay, so what Airtel did, it had the information of the business environment. Okay, and they knew very well that they cannot make changes, they cannot reduce the rates as lowest as Jio has done, because Jio was providing everything free. So what they did, they just diversified their businesses. Okay, they just started Airtel Bank. Okay, they started banking system. Okay, they worked upon some other features, other services. Okay, so in that way they were prepared, and later on they just focused on the weaknesses of Jio. So Jio network has the problem because Jio did not have its own towers. Okay, so they had the collaboration with other companies, so they noticed there was a lot of problem in the Jio, that call was dropped and network was not connected. So Airtel worked upon that, it strengthened its system. Okay, and now you can see that Airtel is giving a tough competition to Jio. Okay, so why it happened? The Airtel, in that phase also Airtel kept on improving, because it had the information of the business environment and it used that information in the positive manner. So it happens. This is the one example. If you want to observe various companies and the performance of those and their competition and the other factors impact on those, then you will get various examples, right? Now let's move on to another feature. So the next point is it helps in assisting in planning and policy formulation. Okay, so let's understand that planning in the organization is done on the basis of the previous year's data, previous year targets, previous year performance, as well as the present situation in the market. Okay, present situation in the environment, what is happening. They have to see what their competitors are doing, They have to see what their suppliers are offering them. They have to see what regulation government has put on them. So they'll have to be aware of each and every situation, each and every factors which may affect their business positively or negatively. According to that, they make their planning, okay, or they form their policies, right? So policy formulation and planning is done on the basis of analysis of business environment. So that is why business environment once again becomes important for a business enterprise for planning and policy formulation, okay, because these points are somewhere going to help that organization to succeed. Okay, for that we can take the example of McDonald. Okay, McDonald before coming to India was very much popular in other foreign countries, right? Okay, but in India they had some kind of restriction because here the vegetarian people are more than the non-vegetarian people, right? So they had to make changes in their policies, right? Because if they had entered the India only with their non-vegetarian food, then they would not have covered such a huge market share, right? So just to cover huge market share, just to make good brand value in the market, or just to have more and more customers attracted towards you, you'll have to understand the customer preferences, their social factors you'll have to study, and accordingly you'll have to behave. Because McDonald's is dealing in the food sector, that's why it is directly related to societal norms. Okay, so it had to study that, right? So according to that, they had to make changes in their policies, fine, and they make changes in their planning as well. They made different kind of strategies, and thereafter you see that McDonald's is successful today. Okay, one more example can be added here. Okay, because in India people are very much economic, so that is why you know very well that McDonald's keeps at least one or two items which are available at very reasonable rates. Okay, and that's why they keep on advertising it as well on the television. You must have seen whether it is Mac Aloo Tikki, okay, Mac Puff, okay, or soft serve cone, or any other food item. Understanding? So that is what they understand the business environment in the India, and then they made changes in their policy and planning, and they have been going on according to that. Okay, so it becomes important for a business enterprise to study the business environment, okay, if they really want to form policy or make planning for that, right? Now let's move on to another point. So the next point is it means business environment enables the firm to identify opportunities and take the first mover advantage, right? Okay, so very first, before understanding that pretty well, we need to understand the meaning of opportunities. What are opportunities in business environment? Okay, opportunities are the positive external trends or changes, okay, which will improve the performance of the business, right? So if you observe the business environment and you see a particular trend, means continuous, if you see the positive information which can work in the favor of your organization pretty well, then that becomes opportunity for you, that becomes a chance for you, right? Because what happens, business is what somebody said very well, that solution to any problem is a business, right? So if you see around you, whatever problems are there, for that business is there. Okay, you feel hot, that is a problem, then fan came into existence, so business is there. Just because of business it happened, right? Okay, there are various examples, you can yourself feel that. So problems, so if you notice in the environment what kind of problem is happening, and as per your capability, as per your requirement, as per your vision of the company, if you can take the advantage of that problem, if you can solve that problem for the customers or for the other people, then what happens, your business starts working, right? So you'll have to identify those opportunities. You'll have to identify those positive changes or external trends which may work in your favor. And that can happen only when you are aware of all the factors happening around you, right? So once you identify the opportunities, then you'll have to start working on that very first, because if you do not do so, then your competitor will do that. Okay, and whoever does it very first, he takes first mover advantage. First mover advantage means when somebody feels the need of something, then he sells his products to more customers, and more customers become there is a very high probability that most of the customers may become loyal to a particular firm, and they will always buy the products from that firm only. So that is a very big opportunity. So that is the meaning of first mover advantage. First mover advantage means when you identify the opportunities very first, then you'll have to start working in the same manner so that you earn the maximum benefit of that. Okay, I just give you an example for that. As you know that in India, for a few years, one kind of campaign has been going on in various cities or various states, that is banning the plastic bag. Okay, and we have seen that in few cities this has been implemented as well. Even a kind of law has been passed there. Okay, so the companies which were dealing in the manufacturing of plastic bags, okay, there is a kind of problem for them. Okay, but the companies which are dealing in cloth, textile, there is the opportunity for them, because if the plastic bags are banned, then what is the option? Option is what? Cloth bag. Okay, and that is what the reason few more companies which were dealing in the textiles, they started producing cloth bags. Okay, and that became popular. So that is the kind of opportunity they identified and took the first mover advantage in that way. Okay, this is a very nominal example. Okay, you can take various examples at national or international level, right? Now let's move on to another point of importance. So the another point is it helps the firm to identify threats and early warning signal. Okay, so before understanding it further, we need to understand the meaning of threats. So the meaning of threat is just opposite to the meaning of opportunities. Threat means any negative trend in the external environment which may hinder the performance of your business, right? Okay, that becomes a threat. The example I gave in the earlier point, the same can be continued here, that the another side of that can be proved as threat. Banning the plastic bag is a threat for the companies which are manufacturing the plastic bag, because their business will be stopped. They'll have to think about the diversification, and otherwise they are going to face a huge loss, right? Because their company will get closed if they're dealing in the single product, right? So that is a kind of threat. If they have the information about it pretty well, that government is thinking about it and it kind of any decision can be taken related to that, then what they'll have to see, what they'll have to do, it is a kind of warning signal for them in the beginning. Okay, because a big threat is coming to them, it has been waiting for them. Okay, now what they'll have to do right now, they'll have to start working for the diversification. Okay, only then they can survive in the market, otherwise there will be a problem for them. Okay, so that is what the meaning for in business environment. Opportunities are also available and threats are also available. Okay, a company has to identify the opportunities as well as threats. Okay, threats have to be identified so that the necessary courses of actions can be taken. They can be prepared to handle it. Otherwise, a lot of problems are going to happen. Okay, now let's continue the example of Jio. Okay, though because of Jio, so many telecommunication companies got closed. We can take the example of Uninor and Aircel. Why they were closed? Because they did not understand, they did not observe the early warning signal. Okay, they did not think about it. They could not observe that threat pretty well and do the necessary treatment for that. They could not take the necessary action. If they had perceived it in the beginning, then what they would have done? They would have diversified themselves dealing in the another services and other products. Okay, like Airtel did. So, or other companies like Idea and Vodafone, they had to collaborate. So it was also a kind of, you can say, the need of hour for both of them. But other companies could not do anything like that. Even Reliance Communication, the company of his own brother, that also went down, right? Just because of that. So that is what the quality of this business environment, that threats and opportunities, everything is available here. But if you are aware, being the owner of business, being the manager of the organization, if you are aware of everything, only then you can take the advantage of the opportunities, and you can be prepared for the threats, and you can observe the early warning signals, and you can take the necessary actions to save yourself or to keep earning with the same pace by diversifying yourself into other products or services. Okay, so these kind of actions can be taken. Okay, so for that, business environment becomes very much important. Now let's move on to another point. The last point is it helps in tapping useful resources. Okay, we need to understand the meaning of tap. Tap means to use some resource, or you can say energy, which is already in existence, right? Means tapping means already available resources should be used. Okay, so business environment somewhere helps in the utilization of all the available resources. Okay, there are various resources available in this environment, and a business enterprise has to use the resources from the environment, right? Okay, and these resources are available to them through suppliers, okay, government, or other you can say banks and financial institutions. Resources can be like raw material, resources can be like machines, okay, and human is also a resource, okay, and finance, that is the biggest resource for every business. Okay, so these resources are available to them through government, financiers, and suppliers and other people. Okay, so these people make these resources available to business organization, to particular business organization, in return of something. Okay, means government does it so that it receives taxes, okay, and banks and financial institutions give you loan so that they may earn interest. Okay, so this is what the business environment does. Business environment just arranges all the resources, useful resources for a business enterprise, right? Okay, so business environment somewhere helps you to arrange all the resources. Now it becomes the responsibility of business enterprises to use those resources, okay, and to convert them into useful products, okay, which can be offered back to the whole environment. So business environment is important in that sense as well, that if you have the information of everything, means where which resource is available at what cost, so that is also the part of business environment. You'll have to have the information about that. Okay, you'll have to have, only according to that you may establish your plant. Okay, say for example, there is a company which is dealing in manufacturing these spices. Okay, so if it is dealing in the manufacturing of spices, it needs to establish its infrastructure, plant, factory, where the raw material related to the product is easily available, right? Okay, and it can be established only in the condition when the managers of the organization have the information about that. Because at easiest cost, when you get the material, okay, then your cost of production reduces, and when your cost of production reduces, then you can earn higher profit. So this is the part of management, right? So management has to be aware of the business environment in terms of tapping the useful resources as well, right? So information of business environment is useful in that case as well, right? So I think you have understood this pretty well. So this was all for importance of business environment. Okay, I hope you have understood it pretty well. There are a few case studies also in the last of the video, so try to attempt that as well. Thank you very much. Very soon I am going to meet you in the another video. Bye bye.